It seems like drama is just everywhere we go at this point. Alright, obviously, we know the things about the favoritism and racism possibly that's going on at YouTube, and possibly all these other streaming services as well. But, to be perfectly honest, I'm not going to be the person that complains about things today. There will be few complaints, but not that many, because people have already done that and is very emotionally charged about it. So my question is, at this point, thinking logically and not emotionally, what are some things that we can do to actually remedy the situation, either company-wise or by the content creator's hands? So I have about 5 suggestions that I think that could potentially do something, or at least rouse some people angry enough to make some changes happen. Again, understandable that people are absolutely emotionally charged when it comes to things, but right now we don't need emotions into this. We need actual logical plans and a way to think of consequences before they even happen. So that's why I'm suggesting this video right now. Hopefully some people will actually tune in and watch this. I know I'm a bit late on this discussion, but it is what it is, and personally I didn't really feel like covering it, but because no one really is suggesting a lot of things, I feel like I should kind of come in and talk about it. Anyway, when it comes to things, we have a lot of problems with this platform, and when it comes to things, we also have a lot of problems with other different platforms, mainly Twitch, because Twitch is ran by bipolar people. But when it comes to things, I feel like if we're really going to try to scream at these people at YouTube that's really running the show, we absolutely need to follow through with some of these suggestions, or at least consider some of these. Number 1, when it comes to things, we should absolutely give the content creators that is super big and super massive of numbers some time off. How about a hiatus? How about each big YouTuber just end up taking a very long hiatus and then just, let the platform do its thing in the meantime? With that, with the bigger YouTubers probably gone, that possibly could mean that the platform itself could end up losing a lot of money. So when it comes down to things, it will just hurt the platform, and then they'll have to try to find a way to push other content creators during the meantime while those bigger YouTubers on a year hiatus, or just maybe taking a long break or whatever. Doesn't necessarily have to be a year. It could just be like 8 months or 9 months, but the minimum should be at least 5 months as a break, honestly. And I mean everybody do it at the same time and all together. And don't even say exactly why they're taking a break. Just say that they're just gonna be on hiatus, or just up and leave. That's an option that you can absolutely do. And then YouTube will probably struggle to find out how to push or bring up some new content creators as well. Granted, I know not everybody's necessarily going to do it, because, somebody's going to try to get over on another person while they're gone, which, that is annoying. But it also would leave a chance to give smaller content creators a chance to grow as well. And that means YouTube will probably have to push someone that originally they don't want to necessarily push. So that's just how it is. And then it's just going to be a that's how it is type of situation. And then that probably could change up some things in a way, especially if we're losing a lot of money, and potentially that's going to have to force YouTube to actually talk about something or bring something up in some shape and form. Money speaks power. Money has power within these companies and these industries. So losing money, their literal one life force, is literally going to be the thing that's going to be a big determining factor if you decide to go down this route. Another thing I was thinking about when it comes to things is that we have an editor on YouTube that you can use to cut out certain things, or mute certain parts, or do whatever you want to. However, because YouTube is ran the way it doesn't necessarily matter if you use that editor or not. You can still get hit with certain things, and it still doesn't matter, and you still will lose the money that you would normally make on your video. So when it comes to things, why don't you just let us use the editor under a certain time frame? If we are under a certain time frame, that means things will be easily getting better, and we'll be able to cut things out when we need to. But without it, we're basically just still sitting here. Even if we were to re-upload it, or even go as far as to edit it out, I guarantee you that no one will still make any money on it, or there will be very limited ads on it. So that will be, that will be a helpful thing if we can actually use the editor and actually do the one thing that would probably help a lot of YouTubers that is up and coming, and especially these bigger channels. So it will be a major benefit for a lot of people if you just stop being, weird about it. I'm just gonna be honest. That was a suggestion actually a lot of people was thinking about. I really don't suggest the third one, but I'm just gonna say it anyway just in case, and if it's really like a last resort option, honestly. But find loopholes in the TOS of YouTube itself, or find a way to basically go against their TOS by using the rules against them in some shape or form. Again, I highly don't recommend doing this. I really don't recommend doing this because who knows what type of domino and chain effect it will have on every single other person on this platform. But it is another thing that you can possibly do. There is some ways that you can play with this platform in ways that people don't really intend to do, which we have discovered ourselves as well. But definitely it's a thing I, again, highly recommend that you don't necessarily do. But if things keep pushing and shoving like this, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Number 4, age restrictions. Now, when it comes to things, personally, anytime I got hit with an age restriction, it seems to be valid because, you know, the content that we make on this channel does talk a lot about Gentai in general, and anime does have a lot of weird things about it. So, I'm not necessarily surprised if I get hit with certain age restrictions, and all of them, to me, at least on my channel, has been kind of valid for majority of the time. So, when it comes to things, why don't we just get more adult sponsors to just advertise for more adult-like videos? I'm not necessarily saying that we need to have like straight up, you know, adult ads just kind of running the place, like the Orange YouTube or something like that, or X Hamster or something like that. We don't necessarily need those type of ads around, but having a lot of more adult ads that is willing to, you know, put their stuff on more adult content and oriented videos would be kind of a bigger help. Especially when it comes down to things where, you know, you want to keep things separated, with especially with the whole COPPA thing that kind of happened not too long ago back in 2019. So, you know, that will be a big benefit if you just go ahead and try to find more adult sponsors and then give those to, you know, the more adult oriented content creators. I know the platform cares about having kid audiences, but when it comes to things, there's still a lot of adults that's here as well. Mainly, this whole place is ran by adults. So when it comes to things, it's only fair to give the adults another share of the pie as well. With those more adult sponsors, you can even go as far as to let a loose of that damn monetization and, well, demonetization of someone's channel. And you can let them make their money the way they should have been done. Like YouTube, you literally made this platform and you put that in place back in the early days of things. When it comes down to things, you cannot just try to take people's money because you are not necessarily wanting to give it, honestly. No one's fault but your own that you want to pay YouTubers and stuff like this. It's just what it is what it is. You just have to deal with it and deal with how you're going to make things right. And one more suggestion would be this. We all heard about so many people going through these copyright claims and all these other types of stuff and strikes and everything. And people usually will refer to a YouTube rep, right? So, when it comes down to things, they are the people that kind of helps bigger content creators, and not everyone has one, understandably, because there's way too many people on the platform. But when it comes to things, everybody has a YouTube rep that's at the top. A lot of people they're able to talk to the policy team to kind of figure out what's the danger and what's the problem, and then they will try their best to help out the content creators themselves. And honestly, they do a very good job considering a lot of people praise them and everything. And when it comes down to things, they don't necessarily seem to be the bad guy. So, instead of just having them run to the policy team, why don't we make them the policy team? Or at least give them the responsibility of the policy team instead. Just, you know, do that, and possibly that would be, you know, a way to solve certain things, because they seem to know what exactly is going on, and they have the right sense of mind of things. They kind of do things with their better judgment and still try to help the content creator at the end result of things. Even though they might not have much power, they still will try to do their best and be very about it though. So if they're the ones that's really doing the best work for YouTubers and knowing how to kind of help them out around certain things, especially when they know themselves that YouTube does not give you perfectly good answers or ludicrous answers when it comes to things, why not have the policy team just be the YouTube reps? That seems to be a perfect way of handling things, and they will probably not be so, you know, damaging of their content creators. So that's also another thing. Honestly, I kind of also find it funny that every time there's an article that's going around, it's always about a certain YouTuber or a certain streamer ends up making something weird happening about the platform. But when it comes to the platform damaging its own creators, it doesn't there's never an article around, which is actually kind of funny. So this is possibly my last and sixth suggestion, even though I did say 5. But this would be the final suggestion, and this is gonna be a very scary one, but at the same time, it would be understandable if it did happen. Remember when Street Fighter V came out and people didn't like the game at the beginning, but it's more so to the end? And with the last DLC that came out of it, it just, felt like it was kind of out of nowhere. Well, not really out of nowhere, but kind of just felt like there was delaying for something. Well, remember during that time, Capcom was going through a lot of hassle with their fighting game division. And so, they had to restructure some things inside Capcom to make things work right. Which is why you see Street Fighter 6 the way it is now with, reinventing itself. So what I'm thinking is, why don't YouTube just restructure itself from the inside? Remove all the staff, remove everybody from every single division, and then just restart all over again. Just rehire more people, and then just see what the hell happens. Honestly, it's the last resort, but a complete reset might just be the answer. I hate to say it, because again, this put a lot of content and content creators at risk. Because I'll be honest too, even though a lot of people say age restrictions should be equal across the board, not every single piece of content is the same. It's like if you put a gaming YouTuber and an anime YouTuber in the same umbrella, that doesn't work. There's different things about each different content creator and what they necessarily make. And you just can't necessarily do that, or at least I don't think you should. So when it comes down to things, if it really were to come down to it, which was probably the other last resort, at least on the company's end, then definitely you might need to go ahead and do a hard reset if it's literally the last option. Granted, big resets don't really help a lot of the time. See how Twitter is now with the whole warnings and sensitive stuff all the dang time. You can't post an image on there without, having that warning on your dang post. So again, I can't necessarily say a reset will be the perfect and ideal way, but it is a way. And those are the suggestions personally I'm thinking that we should obviously do. Granted, I don't know which suggestion what people would go for, and I don't know which suggestions if it would even be possible if it were to happen. But it is something better than nothing. And while instead of talking about the situation and complaining about it for the millionth time, as I see too many people do, at least it's some idea of what we could potentially do. And most likely this video will probably be on the worst side of things, but honestly, it wouldn't have to be like this if the platform itself just actually start caring for its people. Like, it threw us under the bus under COPPA, it threw us under the bus when it comes to the advertisers being unfriendly back in 2017 with that whole adpocalypse. There's plenty of things that's actually wrong on YouTube, but it still gets greenlit and still be fine and still possibly make money. And there's so many other outside forces that still deals with the platform that tries to get themselves over, but not necessarily help its original common man creators. It's just, again, very weird, and it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. But when it comes to the eyes of a company, they speak only one language: money. And if it's not necessarily money, they are not going to necessarily give a damn about anybody take and what they want and what they want to do. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this one. So hopefully you did find this informative, or at the very least, some suggestions that I would like to see pushed out there. So that's pretty much all I got to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy this one. Subscribe, become a Patreon member, that would be nice. Follow me on Twitter too. And until then, it's your boy Jay, sign off. God bless it.